Japan, an archipelago steeped in history, has remarkable megalithic structures from a time long lost to our history books. These monumental sites, often crafted with an astonishing level of precision and alignment with astronomical phenomena, suggest sophisticated knowledge and capabilities that could redefine conventional historical narratives. There are gigantic 800-ton granite blocks carved with extreme precision that were left in the middle of the forest, together with enormous tombs surrounded by water moats that have never been excavated. There are colossal quarries covered with machine marks and cut with laser-like precision. There are massive stone walls resembling those found in Peru and Egypt, the blocks of which couldn't be moved even today with our modern technology. Join us in this documentary, where we will explore the prehistoric marvels of an unknown civilization that inhabited not only the land of what is now Japan, but also the surrounding seabed, which was once the home of an advanced ancient civilization before the end of the last ice age. Mount Nokogiri, located in Chiba Prefecture, Japan, is the location of an enormous megalithic site believed to be an ancient quarry. The Japanese have aptly named this site Saw Mountain due to the cut marks reminiscent of a saw, and they used it as a stone quarry beginning in the early Edo period, from 1603 to 1868. However, the actual age of the Mount Nokogiri-yama quarry remains a mystery. There are many features of the site suggesting a much older and possibly prehistoric origin, hinting at the works of a lost advanced civilization. The theory that Mount Nokogiri could have been an ancient quarry long before the Edo period is fueled by the perfect cuts on the stone, which are remarkably precise. These cuts are exceptionally straight and clean, suggesting the use of advanced tools or techniques that seem out of place for the known historical period of the quarry's operation. During the Edo period in Japan, the technology and tools available for quarrying and stone cutting were quite basic, using chisels and hammers, as well as wedges and spikes. When comparing these traditional tools and methods to the precise and almost machine-like cuts observed in some ancient stones at sites like Mount Nokogiri-yama, there is a notable discrepancy in capability. We must also consider the incredible height of these walls, which reach up to approximately 30 meters, which is about 100 feet in some places. The precision in the ancient cuts suggests the use of technology that could consistently produce straight and perfectly aligned cuts, no matter the height, which is difficult to achieve with the aforementioned traditional tools. Curiously, the precise stone cuts at Mount Nokogiri-yama bear a striking resemblance to those found at other ancient sites across the globe, where similar meticulous craftsmanship points to sophisticated stoneworking skills. For instance, Pumapunku in Bolivia is an ancient site famed for its incredibly precise stonework. The cuts and drill holes in these stones are so fine and exact that they have led some to speculate about the possibility of advanced prehistoric stone cutting technologies, possibly even predating the Inca civilization. If Pumapunku was constructed by a highly advanced civilization preceding the Inca, who then merely inherited the site, might it also be possible that the Mount Nokogiri quarry was originally developed by an even older civilization, which was later inherited by the Japanese? The features discovered at the site are extraordinary. For instance, there are sections where precise roads and arches have been meticulously carved straight into the rock face of the mountain. Such achievements are truly monumental. The strangest anomaly of the site is the various vertical incisions, which are perfectly parallel to one another. If you watched our recent documentary in which we explored the prehistoric megalithic sites found in China, these vertical incisions probably look familiar to you. We showed you these same incisions on various unexplained sites in China, such as the Yangshan Quarry, where gigantic stone blocks were carved from the rock, together with the vast cave networks of Longyu Caves, the Huashan Grottos, and more. All of these extensive sites were centers of monumental construction efforts and stone extraction processes, with millions of tons of rock being removed. For simple Bronze Age cultures equipped with primitive tools, such tasks would have been unfathomable. The precise vertical cuts found at all of these sites closely resemble those produced in modern mines using advanced drilling machinery. Take a look at this comparison of the lines found at Mount Nokogiri-yama and compare them with the marks left by our modern machines. The similarity is uncanny. Of course, this does not mean that the ancient Japanese were unskilled stoneworkers. During the Edo period, the Japanese, who likely inherited this ancient site, added remarkable pieces of art, like this giant Buddha. This impressive sculpture, which dates back to 1783, was carved directly into the stone face of the mountain. It stands approximately 31 meters high, making it one of the largest Buddha statues in Japan. Adjacent to it, there are over 1,500 smaller stone statues of Buddhist disciples, known as reikan. These statues, scattered around the slopes of the mountain, are intricately carved, each with unique facial expressions and poses. They depict the followers of Buddha, each captured in different postures of meditation and contemplation. But again, these artistic decorations were likely added thousands of years later and have nothing to do with the original builders of the site. Given all that we've considered thus far, it's worth questioning whether this prehistoric site was actually used as a quarry at all. The primary objective of a stone quarry is typically to extract the maximum amount of stone using the least amount of labor and energy within the shortest possible time frame. However, the practices observed here appear to contradict these principles. If the workers lacked machinery and had to make parallel incisions by hand, it suggests that they extracted as little stone as possible while expending a significant amount of labor. Moreover, why would they create perfectly polished and precisely angled 90-degree cavities in the rock if their sole intention was merely to extract stone? Such meticulous craftsmanship suggests other motivations or purposes behind their laborious efforts. But the question is, what? As we transition from the rugged landscapes of Mount Nokogiri to another significant site, the Oya Stone Quarry in Utsunomiya, we encounter a very similar quarry. In this quarry, we can once again see precise cuts and parallel machine marks on the stone. Are these marks really made by some sort of advanced ancient machine technology? The notion that such technology existed is supported by the precision and consistency of the markings, which conventional tools of the periods attributed to these sites would struggle to achieve. What sets the Oya Stone Quarry apart from that on Mount Nokogiri is that it reaches depths of about 200 feet or 60 meters. This is a monumental undertaking by any standard, especially without the use of modern equipment. The interior of this man-made cave is remarkable, with a perfectly flat floor, precise 90-degree angled cuts in various parts, and once again, parallel grooves. The site looks exactly like the Longyu Caves and the Huashan Grottos in China. But how is this possible, considering the distance between the Oya Stone Quarry in Japan and those sites in central China is approximately 1,800 kilometers, about 1,118 miles. This measurement does not account for the additional distances that would be added by land or sea routes needed to actually travel between these two locations. Maybe all of these sites were built by the same global civilization, a civilization that possessed advanced technology and sophisticated knowledge that would allow them to construct these gigantic megaliths. It is unknown what caused the extinction of this culture, but most likely it was some sort of cataclysmic event. If we visit the town of Takasago in Hyogo Prefecture, we can find another incredible megalith. This is Ishino Hoden, also known as the floating stone. This unusual and strange creation was carved from a single piece of stone block made from tuff. Tuff stone is a type of rock formed from volcanic ash ejected during explosive volcanic eruptions. This gigantic megalith weighs around 500 tons, and it's about 15 feet high and 15 feet deep, which is around 5 meters. This makes this stone larger than any of the stones used in the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza, the largest of which weighed 80 tons. To this day, the origins and purposes of this ancient relic are a complete mystery, as there are no inscriptions or markings on it. Estimates place its construction in the prehistoric Jomon period, which dates back to around 14,000 to 300 BCE. A Shinto shrine was later constructed around the stone by the Japanese, and the megalith became traditionally known as the floating stone due to its unique placement. The design of this stone is highly unusual. It resembles a component of a vast machine, almost like a cube with a tapered end on one side. The stone is precisely cut, with sharp, clean angles and smooth surfaces that testify to the advanced stone-working techniques of its builders. It is formed into two vertically oriented flat rectangular parallel pipettes. One side features a protrusion that resembles the peak of a pyramid. But how is it possible for a prehistoric hunter-gatherer society to be able to carve, extract, and transport a 500-ton stone block? The origins and methods used to craft such an exquisite piece of stone art remain a mystery. The water continuously flows from beneath the earth under the stone. The link of this extraordinary megalith to groundwater makes some theorize that the site could be some kind of energy generator that interacts with the water beneath it. Locals also associate the monolith with the healing of ailments and illnesses. In many cultures, including Japanese, water is often seen as a purifying element and is commonly associated with spiritual renewal and life. The presence of flowing water under the Ishi no Hoden may contribute to its sanctity and the reverence with which it is regarded. It is possible that the original placers of the stone chose its location specifically because of this natural water feature, seeing the spring as a symbol of endless life or a direct connection to the spiritual world. But there's also the possibility that the constant flow of water that emerges from the ground is not a natural phenomenon, but some kind of advanced hydrological system. In our 2-hour documentary about prehistoric advanced megastructures in Egypt, we talked about the Osirian, a massive complex that is still not fully excavated. Just like Ishi no Hoden, there is a constant flow of water beneath the structure. With the Osirian, it's been well documented and known that the water flow is not natural and that there's a vast subterranean hydrological system of channels. Additionally, locals state that the water beneath Ishi no Hoden never runs dry, even in times of severe drought. We know that most ancient megalithic sites are aligned to star constellations and celestial events. Curiously, on the winter solstice of 8600 BC, the sun rises precisely facing the pyramid tip of the stone. The mysterious megalith, which creates the illusion of floating above the water, fascinates people thousands of years after its creation. Another fascinating discovery in the same region of Asuka was the massive granite coffins found within the Ueyama Kofun tumulus. The construction of these coffins looks very similar to the megalithic stone Ishi no Hoden. In fact, the strange knobs on the granite boxes and the massive knob on Ishi no Hoden all bear a striking resemblance to the various knobs found on other megastructures all across the world. We already mentioned the gigantic stone block found in China at the Yangshan Quarry, which also bears gigantic knobs. There are also the various knobs found on the megalithic stone walls in Peru, together with those found in Egypt and other places around the world. Stone walls aside, the two horizontal granite chambers that lay side by side were nearly identical to other granite boxes found in Egypt. Like the granite boxes in Egypt, those in Japan also showed perfect 90-degree angles in their corners, smooth surfaces, and extreme precision in their makeup. How is it possible for ancient people with primitive tools to be able to shape pink granite, which is one of the hardest materials on Earth, into such precise and smooth shapes? There is also a large piece of granite with meticulous carvings and channels, which are too precise and smooth to be made with primitive tools. The purpose of these is unknown. In fact, the entire site is restricted and visiting it is impossible. There are many more mysterious stone structures in Japan, the origin of which is mostly unknown. For example, there's the Sakafune Ishi, a mysterious artifact also located in Asuka. This massive stone structure, carved from a single piece of granite, measures approximately 3 meters in length, which is approximately 10 feet, and is shaped somewhat like a boat or trough. The stone is hollowed out, creating a basin-like form with a flat base, which has led to much speculation about its use and meaning. Granite is extremely hard to work with. This makes the circular oval shapes and perfectly smooth channels on the surface of the structure quite impressive. Without any indications of its true purpose, historians speculate that it was used for ritual purposes or for the production or storage of the traditional Japanese rice wine, which is integral to Shinto rituals and celebrations. However, the giant granite piece, which weighs around 10 tons, sits in an area rich with other ancient artifacts and ruins, suggesting it was once part of a larger piece or construction. A Japanese researcher by the name of Hiroshi Hayashi made an interesting discovery by examining the lines of the stone. He believed Sakafune Ishi was actually an ancient map centered from the North Pole. He measured the exact degrees and angles of the lines and believes the rock shows the directions to important ancient megalithic sites like Stonehenge, the pyramids of Giza, and others, as the degrees of the lines fit perfectly with the longitudes of these sites. The center of the stone actually represents the center of the Earth, which is incredible, considering latitudes were formally established in 1884 in England, and the oldest ones were established in 1494. The precise craftsmanship and the effort required to quarry, transport, and shape such a massive stone indicate that it held considerable significance. The site's proximity to other key archaeological finds also suggests that there was a massive complex in the area, and what we find today are merely the remnants that have withstood the passage of time. If you walk just a few minutes away from Sakafune Ishi, you can find another incredible stone known as Kam-ishi, which means the turtle stone. This gigantic stone is named that way because it has a clearly defined shell, head, and limbs. The precise reasons for its creation and the meanings attached to it remain subjects of debate among historians. Some suggest that it might have had astronomical significance and was used as a marker for celestial events or seasons, while others believe it could have marked a burial site or a significant place within the Asuka region. According to legend, the turtle stone in Asuka, Japan, possesses a mysterious and somewhat ominous quality. It is said that when the stone faces west, a great flood will strike the land.
If it actually turns all the way and faces west, then Japan will sink into the ocean and disappear. The idea, of course, this being a barometer of the fortunes of the country.
Presently, Turtlestone is oriented to the southwest, sparking both curiosity and concern among those who know the legend. This enigmatic behavior of the Turtlestone has led to various speculations about its nature and origins. One intriguing theory suggests that the stone might be magnetic and interact with Earth's magnetic field. This interaction could potentially allow the stone to detect or measure magnetic anomalies, which might be linked to cataclysmic geological events such as earthquakes or floods. Such properties would make the Turtlestone not only a cultural and historical artifact, but also a natural geophysical marker or warning system. The pole shift hypothesis, which postulates that the Earth's poles have historically shifted, causing massive global changes and cataclysms, could potentially explain the stone's reputed behavior. If the Turtlestone is indeed magnetic, it might be influenced by shifts or instabilities in Earth's magnetic field caused by movements of the planet's core or tectonic plates. These changes could align with the legends of the stone, shifting its orientation prior to environmental upheavals. In the same area, we can find more megalithic structures like Oni no Sekimen, which literally translates to the demon's washing stone or ogre's washing stone. This megalith is located near the Asuka River and is famous for its peculiar shape and the legend surrounding it. According to local folklore, an Oni, which is a giant demon, used this stone to wash its face each morning. The stone is relatively flat and large, suitable for the mythical purposes it is said to have served. The stone is also thought to have been part of ancient rituals or practices, given its prominent placement and distinctive form. Some theories suggest that it might have been used as a sort of altar or ceremonial platform, possibly related to water rites, given its proximity to the river. The physical characteristics of the stone, including some grooves that could be interpreted as wear from repetitive use, add to the mystery and the legend.
So we're just here at another stone called the Devil's Toilet. And it's hard to get back far enough to see it clearly. It's got these geometric cuts in it, which are really quite unusual.
Next to it is Oni no Manaita, which translates to the demon's cutting board. Legend has it that this stone was used by a giant Oni to chop up human victims or prepare food. This gruesome imagery contributes to the stone's eerie allure and its cultural significance as a site of supernatural lore. Physically, Oni no Manaita is impressive due to its size and the flatness of its surface. Also in Asuka, there's the Ishibutai Kofun, which is one of the most famous and visually striking tomb sites in Japan. Ishibutai Kofun is remarkable not only for its historical significance, but also for the engineering feats involved in its construction. The tomb is constructed from massive stone slabs, with the largest stones forming what is today an exposed stone chamber after centuries of erosion stripped away the earthen mound that once covered it. The stones used in Ishibutai are enormous. The largest slab, which forms the ceiling of the tomb's chamber, weighs around 140 tons. Other significant stones in the construction include the upright slabs that weigh approximately 60 tons each. It's a mystery how an ancient civilization was able to pile such gigantic stones in such a way. All over Japan, there are thousands of Kofun burial mounds, and mainstream historians traditionally date them back to around 250 AD. Despite the established chronology, there is a subset of historians and researchers who believe that many Kofuns may actually be much older, predating the traditionally recognized timeline of Japanese civilization. These claims are often based on the advanced technological skills that would have been required to construct such massive structures. The precision in the carving of the stones, the engineering required to transport and lift huge stone slabs, and the meticulous placement in specific configurations suggest a level of technological sophistication that some argue could not have been achieved at the time without more advanced knowledge or equipment. These theories often draw parallels with other ancient megalithic sites around the world, where similar arguments are made about the use of advanced technology long before it was supposedly invented. The precise nature of the stone fittings, similar to those seen in the architecture of other ancient civilizations, and the enormity of the stones, some weighing several tons, pose questions about the conventional understanding of the technological capabilities of the era. Proponents of these theories suggest that these structures could be remnants of a yet-to-be-understood phase of civilization, possibly linked to other ancient cultures through lost technological knowledge or through a shared but not yet identified heritage. If you dig deep into research, you may stumble on these incredible statues from Okinawa, Japan, which are incredibly similar to the statues found in Mexico. There's also a giant head, which closely resembles the Olmec heads, which are also in Mexico. Unfortunately, when we dug deeper, we found out these statues were not ancient, but were the ruins of a park that was abandoned in the 1990s. But does that mean there aren't any legitimate links between these ancient civilizations? Located in the Kansai region near the center of Japan's main island, we can find the Osaka Castle, which is a 16th century iconic Japanese landmark. But what's really incredible is the foundation on which this castle was built. Osaka Castle was built on a prehistoric foundation of gigantic polygonal blocks, tightly fitted together without any gaps. This mega platform that predates the castle itself looks very similar to the ancient stonework found in Peru, Bolivia, and Egypt. This architectural similarity provides intriguing clues to a possible pre-Diluvian connection between Japan and the advanced prehistoric civilizations scattered around the globe. Such polygonal and cyclopean styles are observed not only in Japan, Peru, Bolivia, and Egypt, but also in distant locales like Easter Island. What might this widespread distribution of a distinct architectural style signify? Could this be evidence of a once global advanced civilization? What's most shocking is that one of these stones weighs approximately 800 tons. This gigantic stone block is known as the octopus stone, also referred to as the drum stone. Its exact origins are still a mystery, and historians still can't fathom how an ancient civilization was able to quarry and transport such gigantic stones without the use of advanced technology. The stone looks similar to the gigantic Baalbek stones found in Lebanon, which are also a historical mystery. We have to consider that even today, with our modern technology, we won't be able to lift and transport the so-called octopus stone. That begs the question, what kind of technologies did this lost prehistoric civilization possess to be able to accomplish this Herculean task? Additionally, there are stones weighing more than 100 tons in different parts of the site, all stacked precisely with minimal gaps. If we look closely at the stone wall, we can see signs of significant weathering on the surface of the blocks, which suggests that this stone foundation could be extremely old. This observation is particularly compelling given the polygonal style's efficacy in seismic zones. This construction technique, where stones interlock tightly without mortar, provides exceptional stability during earthquakes, a frequent threat in this region. This durability might imply that the castle's foundations have endured for thousands of years, withstanding the harshest earthquakes in Japanese history. Despite numerous reconstructions due to warfare, natural disasters, and other devastations, the core ancient structures, particularly the megalithic stones, have likely remained largely unshifted, underscoring the ancient technique's effectiveness. This resilience speaks volumes about the ancient architect's skill and foresight. Moreover, another peculiar feature observed on some of the stones is the signs of vitrification, which suggests that they were exposed to extremely high temperatures, possibly from a cataclysmic event. This detail leads to speculation about their ancient origins and whether these stones could have witnessed global cataclysmic events, such as those posited by the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, which theorizes that a comet impact devastated early advanced civilizations. This means that these stones could have been constructed more than 12,000 years ago. Therefore, the question arises, could Osaka Castle's foundations be relics of an ancient, technologically advanced civilization that existed long before our current understanding of history? The evidence suggests a possibility that could fundamentally alter our perception of ancient human achievements. We can see similar megastructures in the Edo Castle in the heart of Tokyo. There are numerous precisely cut stones fitted together without the use of mortar. The remnants of these walls can still be seen around the Imperial Palace, which stands on the former grounds of Edo Castle. Undoubtedly, all of these gigantic structures were built by the same lost civilization and were later built upon by later cultures. If we compare the 16th century Japanese wall construction methods to the perfectly precise stone walls of old, we can see the difference. The Japanese used a more primitive technique known as burdock piling. This method of building stone walls involves fitting large rocks together with cracks filled with pebbles and smaller stones. These walls are uniquely sloped, creating ovate shapes that resemble the blossoms of Japanese burdock plants, hence the technique's name. Although this was still a very sophisticated construction method, as it had greater stability than regular brick walls with mortar and allowed the stones to move slightly during earthquakes without causing significant damage, it is no match to the more ancient polygonal construction method, where the stone blocks were not only significantly larger, but were also fitted much more precisely. We can easily speculate that the medieval people of Japan were capable of building megalithic structures. However, the Japanese medieval people documented and recorded their buildings as well as the constructive processes, but we find no mentions about the megalithic architecture anywhere. Remarkably, on some megalithic stoneworks, like on the Nakano-mon stone wall, we can find metal clamps embedded in the blocks. This is an incredible correlation with other megalithic sites across the world, all of which possess the exact same feature. But there are even more structures that correlate with prehistoric civilizations on the other side of the world. Take a look at the spectacular rock-cut tombs in Kyushu. These tombs are hewn into the sides of hills and cliffs, utilizing the natural rock formations as both the medium and the setting for these ancient grave sites. They often feature square or rectangular entrances leading into deep chambers. The creation of these tombs required precise stone carving skills and a deep understanding of rock properties to ensure that the chambers were stable and would not collapse over time. But here's where things get very strange. If we compare the rock-cut tombs of Japan with the Kangxi rock tombs in Turkey, we find remarkable similarities. But similar doorway engravings can be found all over the world, in India, in Peru, Italy, and Egypt. The entrances are adorned with the same rectangular carvings, which is very unusual. What is the chance for this being a coincidence? And these are not the only rock-cut tombs in Japan. There are also the Yoshimi Hayakwana ancient burial tombs. The name Yoshimi Hayakwana translates to 100 holes of Yoshimi. This site consists of 216 ancient burial caves carved into a hillside. Each tomb features a small square entrance leading to a round, domed interior. The caves vary in size but are typically just large enough to hold 1 or 2 adult bodies. Some tombs are adorned with simple carvings or niches which might have held offerings or memorial items. Of the most impressive of the rock-cut dwellings are the Ishinuki-Nagino caves, situated in the Nagasaki district. These intricate tombs represent a remarkable archaeological feat characterized by a series of ancient niches and small caves carved into a 250-meter-long rock formation. These caves are numbering 48 in total, and all of them have skillful finishing and intricate decorations, both on the facades and within the interiors. Some of the interior chambers are quite large, which led some researchers to suggest that this site was not just a tomb, but some kind of ancient city ingrained in the hillside. The effort to carve these chambers directly into the rock and to extract so many tons of material reflects the sophisticated capabilities of the people who made them. The unique rectangular engraving found on the entrances of many of these sites, from Turkey to Japan, can also be seen on the Ishi-no Hoden Kofun, which is an incredible megalithic structure located in Takasago. This ancient monument is carved from a single massive stone and is estimated to weigh around 500 tons. The monolith is quarried from a type of fine-grained bluish-gray granite, and as we said before, granite is one of the hardest materials on Earth. The structure is roughly cubic, with a flat top that some believe had some sort of purpose. What makes Ishi-no Hoden particularly intriguing is the precision with which it has been carved and shaped. The surfaces are remarkably smooth and flat, with clean, straight edges that suggest a high level of technical skill and meticulous planning. This level of craftsmanship indicates that the builders not only had the tools necessary to work granite, but also a profound understanding of stone masonry. The site is associated with several legends, one of which suggests that it floats above the ground. Historically, the site is believed to have been used for burial purposes by the local ruling class, as the complexity and number of the tombs suggest significant time, resources, and labor investment. The site's secluded location and the effort required to carve these tombs into rock faces indicate that this was a sacred area reserved for individuals of high status or spiritual significance. Strangely, similar sites can be found on other parts of the globe. One of the more remarkable tombs found in Japan is the so-called turtle tombs, also known as kamekobaka. These unique structures, predominantly found throughout the Ryukyu Islands, capture attention not only due to their unusual turtle-like shape, but also because of the profound architectural and historical significance they embody. The Okinawa turtle tombs are meticulously carved from limestone, a sedimentary rock prevalent in the region, which has been used extensively across Okinawa for various construction purposes due to its relative abundance and workability. The tombs are shaped to resemble a turtle's back. This design is not merely aesthetic but imbued with deep symbolic meaning, reflecting a reverence for ancestors and the belief in their continued presence and protection in the afterlife. The construction of turtle tombs involves a sophisticated understanding of stone carving. Each tomb is crafted to have a dome-like, rounded top with a flat underside that rests on the ground. Traditionally, the turtle tombs are thought to have originated in the 17th century during the flourishing of the Ryukyu kingdom. However, some scholars and historians propose that these tombs could be much older, possibly dating back to a prehistoric period or being the work of an unknown ancient civilization that once inhabited the region. This theory is spurred by the sophistication of the tomb's design and the advanced masonry skills required to construct them, which some argue may surpass the capabilities traditionally attributed to the Ryukyuans of historical records. These structures exhibit flawlessly polished surfaces and are meticulously cut, featuring perfectly precise 90-degree angles and edges. The weathering on the stone also suggests they are extremely old, leading to the belief that they were used by the people of the 17th century, but weren't actually constructed by them. Additionally, there are turtle tombs so ancient that they are barely recognizable, engulfed in earth and vegetation, suggesting they could be thousands of years older than mainstream historians believe. Strangely, these structures look very similar to the Quenuani structures in Peru. The design looks remarkably identical. During the fierce conflicts in Okinawa between Japanese and U.S. forces in World War II, records indicate that both locals and soldiers sought refuge within the turtleback tombs, which subsequently became strategic points of contention in the battle to control them. This showcases the strength of the massive constructions. Regardless of their true origins, the turtle tombs remain a vital part of Okinawa's heritage and are revered as sacred sites even to this day, with people continuing to construct tombs for their relatives in similar designs. And speaking of tombs, you should know that the entirety of Japan is filled with thousands of tombs, most of which are unexcavated. These tombs, or kofun as they are known, vary significantly in size, shape, and construction method. The most common shapes are keyhole-shaped, circular-shaped, and square-shaped. The keyhole-shaped kofun, which is unique to Japan, is particularly fascinating. It combines a square front and a circular rear. These keyhole-shaped tombs were constructed with remarkable precision and attention to detail. They are vast, island-like structures encircled by a moat, with some featuring several smaller moats. In Sakai City in particular, there is the Mozu Kofun group, which consists of more than 100 burial mounds spread across a large area. The largest and most famous of these is the Daisen Kofun, which measures around 1,600 feet in length, which is 490 meters. This makes the surface area of this tomb bigger than the surface area of the pyramids of Giza, and makes the Daisen Kofun the largest tomb by area in the world. The creation of this tomb was estimated to have taken 2,000 workers who worked a continuous 16 years to finish it, after removing 1.6 million cubic meters of soil. According to the local legend, to construct a kofun, people would work during the day, while the gods worked at night. Despite their massive size, little is known about the kofuns. Because kofuns are associated with Japan's mythological first emperors, archaeologists are not permitted to excavate or even enter most of these sites. For this reason, these ancient tombs remain shrouded in secrecy, guarded closely by the Japanese government and the Imperial Household Agency. The limited knowledge available only heightens the sense of fascination surrounding these keyhole tombs, leaving us yearning to uncover what's hidden inside them. As for the gigantic Daisen Kofun, it is believed to be the burial site of Emperor Nintoku, one of Japan's legendary emperors. However, this theory is mainly based on an ancient text which reads that, among 5 kings sleeps the Emperor Nintoku. However, this text was written hundreds of years after the actual construction of the kofun, so who or what's truly inside is still a mystery. The global significance of the kofun tombs was highlighted when the Mozu Kofun Group was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2019. This recognition underscores the importance of these tombs not only to Japanese history, but to the broader understanding of ancient civilizations. The restricted access and limited archaeological excavation of the Kofun tombs in Japan have given rise to various conspiracy theories and speculations. Some believe that the kofun holds advanced ancient technologies or knowledge that modern authorities want to keep secret. Interestingly, there are many keyhole ancient structures and depictions all across the world. It's clear that this symbol had a profound meaning across these cultures. There are the keyhole tombs found in Sardinia, although they are a bit different. These tombs are characterized by their elongated burial chambers with a distinct keyhole-shaped layout, similar in shape but different in function and construction to the keyhole-shaped Kofun tombs in Japan. This keyhole tomb is attributed to the Nuragic civilization, which is one of the Mediterranean's most ancient cultures that existed around 4,000 years ago. Another keyhole structure can be found in Egypt at the Kam Ombo Temple, which is famous for the mummified crocodiles found there. This architectural innovation was called the Nilometer and was used to measure the Nile River's water level during its annual flood cycle. It consisted of a single vertical column marked with graduations and submerged in the river. The markings allowed observers to read the water level as it rose or fell against the column. Another keyhole ancient marvel is the Saudi Arabia geoglyphs. The keyhole geoglyphs in Saudi Arabia are part of a fascinating and enigmatic group of archaeological features known as the Works of the Old Men, which spread across the deserts of the Arabian Peninsula. They are typically constructed from stone and are thought to be around 2,000 to 9,000 years old, dating back to the Neolithic period. Their function and purpose are still unknown. There are many more keyhole structures and depiction that in different ways resemble the Japanese Kofun tombs. However, there's another site, which unlike the keyhole structures we showed you so far, doesn't resemble, but looks like an exact copy of the Japanese Kofuns. But there's a twist. This site is not located on Earth. In 2016, researchers studying high-resolution photos of the surface of Mars spotted an eerily similar keyhole-shaped mound. The structure displays extraordinary symmetry, and what's shocking is that there aren't any large geographical features anywhere near this structure. The enigmatic structure visible on numerous satellite images of the Red Planet displays staggering similarities to the ancient Japanese Kofun tombs. Many UFO researchers agree and claim that the structure identified on Mars probably went through millions of years of erosion, but it's clearly visible. Shape is a definitive telltale sign of the possibility of an ancient civilization that inhabited Mars thousands, if not millions of years ago. These seemingly outlandish theories are actually supported by Japanese mythology, which is rife with tales that could be interpreted as encounters with extraterrestrial beings. In fact, the first emperor of Japan is considered to be a descendant of a celestial god. And in Shinto, the indigenous religion of Japan, there are numerous deities known as kami, which are described as interdimensional beings descending from the sky. Perhaps the most cited example in discussions about ancient alien theories in Japan is the Taketori Monogatari, also known as the Tale of Princess Kaguya. This 10th century narrative is considered Japan's oldest prose narrative, detailing the life of a mysterious moon child, Kaguya Hime, who is discovered inside a glowing bamboo stalk. As the story unfolds, Kaguya Hime grows into a woman of uncommon beauty, eventually revealing that she is from the moon and must return to her celestial family. The descriptions of her celestial origins, her return to the moon in what could be seen as a spacecraft, and the heavenly entourage that comes to retrieve her, are often interpreted by alien theorists as an allegory for extraterrestrial visitation. In fact, there's a 7,000-year-old ancient rocket ship cave carving found in Japan. It is still a mystery how ancient people were able to carve a petroglyph that looks identical to a modern rocket ship. The most famous UFO encounter in Japanese history happened 220 years ago during feudal times. In 1803, during the late Edo period on the shores of Harayadori in Hitachi Province, local fishermen witnessed a perplexing sight. An unusual craft was seen drifting toward the shore. This object, covered in small metal plates reminiscent of the heat-resistant tiles used on space shuttles, eventually washed ashore, sparking curiosity and astonishment among the locals. The design of this craft was extraordinary, as it had glass windows in its upper section, likening its appearance and construction to technologies not seen until the modern era. As the crowd gathered around the mysterious vessel, a hatch opened, and from within emerged a young woman. The woman had a distinctive red hair and eyebrows and held a mysterious box. She was dressed in strange, unfamiliar garments and spoke an indecipherable language. Inside the craft, onlookers discovered writings resembling hieroglyphs, a type of script completely unknown to them. This story of the Utsuro Bune, as the craft came to be known, appears in 3 different ancient Japanese texts. Considering that these texts are historical, for many in Japan, this tale is viewed not just as folklore, but as a potential historical encounter with what some might deem a celestial visitor. Today, there are museums in Japan that even show a recreation of the vehicle encountered in 1803, although they refrain from calling it a UFO. Perhaps the most famous prehistoric megalithic structure linked to ancient extraterrestrials is the Masuda no Iwafun, which translates to the rock ship of Masuda. This incredible megalith weighs 800 tons and is carved from a single piece of granite. Strangely, it doesn't resemble any other architecture in Japan. Many believe it is some kind of representation of the celestial vesicles of the gods, but to this day, no one knows who carved or placed it there. On the other 3 sides, trellis-shaped chisel marks can be seen close to the ground. Because granite is known to be difficult to carve, even with modern tools, this sculpture fascinates specialists and scientists who consider it a technical wonder. On the north side of the structure, there is a square scale-like pattern. The most popular theory about the stone's construction is that it was used as an astronomical observation point. Its orientation alignment with the slope suggests that the monolith may be linked with the Japanese lunar calendar and to the first astronomical observations. However, some experts disagree with this. With no conclusive information regarding the significance of this enigmatic stone structure, the whys and wherefores of its existence remain a mystery to this day. But if there was an advanced ancient civilization tens of thousands of years ago, would the first and oldest known civilization in Japan know something about them? The Jomon culture, which dates back to around 14,000 BC, are considered the first people to inhabit what is now Japan. The Jomon people were predominantly hunter-gatherers, though they also engaged in early forms of agriculture, and considering the era in which they existed, we can agree they were very primitive. They didn't have clothes and instead used animal skin. For this reason, the various dogu figurines created by them are quite unusual. These figures are depicted wearing sophisticated costumes and garments that resemble armor. How could such an intricate costume or armor have been imagined in a culture where clothing wasn't made from anything but hides? The strange thing is that similar figures were found all across Japan. Given the sparse population, estimated at only about 250,000 at its peak, and the limited modes of transportation, primarily walking, it is intriguing how such a specific image became commonly accepted among people who were barely in any contact with each other. This widespread acceptance might indicate that the staring dogu might have been based on something all of these ancient people actually saw. But considering these beings look like extraterrestrials with their bulging eyes and exaggerated proportions, together with their costume which looks like a spacesuit, it makes you wonder, how is this possible? But there are other strange figures, like the so-called reptilian statues, which date back to the Asuka period around 6th century AD. They look very similar to the 7,000-year-old Ubaid statues from Mesopotamia. There is no definitive explanation for why these statues have reptilian features, but we know well that reptilian humanoid figures are depicted all across the world. If these figurines represent a long-lost ancient civilization, this means that this civilization existed more than 15,000 years ago, in a prehistoric era before the Ice Age. This was a time so ancient that the sea level and the waters surrounding Japan weren't even there. But does that mean there may be more megalithic structures on the seabed near Japan? In 1986, a local diver named Kihachiro Aratake was scouting for a good spot to observe hammerhead sharks. As Aratake explored the waters, he encountered massive underwater rock formations with sharp, precise angles and fine edges that struck him as too unusual for a natural formation. Intrigued by the geometric nature of the rocks, he noticed that they resembled architectural structures, complete with terraces, steps, and flat surfaces that mimicked the appearance of step pyramids and other ancient man-made constructions. The site became known as the Yonaguni Monument, named after the southernmost of the Ryukyu Islands in Japan where it was discovered. The site's largest and most famous structure, which resembles a stepped pyramid, extends some 90 meters at its base and rises to a height of about 25 meters. Realizing the potential significance of his find, Aratake alerted marine scientists, including Professor Masaki Kimura of the University of the Ryukyus. Kimura, along with other researchers, began a detailed investigation of the site, which led to further discoveries of the monument's features, including columns, roads, and what appeared to be cross-shaped formations, all suggesting the possibility of an ancient, submerged, man-made site. Dr. Kimura argues that the monument could be the remains of a 10,000-year-old city, submerged at the end of the last ice age due to rising sea levels. According to his research, the formations on Yonaguni show evidence of human modification, such as the deliberate carving of the rocks, consistent spacing and dimensions of structural features, and the presence of what he interprets as roads, ceremonial centers, and perhaps even large-scale water management systems. Dr. Kimura's hypothesis is supported by comparisons to known ancient constructions, particularly those involving large stone blocks or megalithic architecture, such as those found in ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Central America. These comparisons are used to argue that the skills and technologies required to create a site like Yonaguni might have been available to a prehistoric civilization with advanced engineering knowledge. Nevertheless, the established archaeological institutions deem the site a natural formation, made entirely by nature. But how is this possible, considering there are straight lines, steps, and sharp edges, all with exact 90-degree angles? The region around Yonaguni has a rich history and mythology that includes legends of lost continents and great floods, similar to flood myths found in many cultures around the world. These stories, passed down through generations, sometimes speak of ancient cities and civilizations that were swallowed by the sea, lending a mythical allure to the idea that Yonaguni could be a remnant of such a lost world. One such story is the lost, ancient kingdom of Yamatai. It is believed to have been a vast and powerful nation that disappeared from history as rising sea levels submerged its cities beneath the ocean. Yamatai was reportedly governed by a mysterious sorceress named Himiko. Its exact location has never been identified, nor have the causes of its vanishing been understood. Interestingly, the existence of Yamatai has been confirmed by historical documents from 300 AD, Records even mention their queen, Himiko, dispatching an envoy to the Chinese emperor. It's theorized that tectonic movements in the region may have led to Yamatai being engulfed by the sea. Despite the fascinating theories of a man-made origin, the Yonaguni Monument is the subject of ongoing debate among scientists. Some geologists and archaeologists argue that the monument's features can be explained by natural geological processes such as tectonic activity, which is common in this seismically active region. They point out that sandstone, which makes up the monument, is prone to fracturing and erosion in patterns that can mimic man-made structures. However, the theory that the Yonaguni Monument might be man-made is not without its merits and continues to be a subject of intense research and exploration. The precise angles and the seeming organization of the structure suggest that further investigations are needed to fully understand the origins and nature of this underwater enigma. There are many more unexplained structures and mysteries we found during our research, which we won't be able to scope into this video. We journeyed through the dense forests and coastal waters of Japan to uncover remnants of an unknown civilization that once mastered the landscape, both above and below the sea. These structures suggest a sophisticated knowledge of engineering, astronomy, and geology, indicating that the people who built them had capabilities that far exceed the traditional view of prehistoric societies. As we close this exploration, the revelations we've encountered compel us to reconsider not just the history of Japan, but the very narrative of human civilization. If you've enjoyed this documentary and would like to see more high-quality content, please consider supporting our work and dedicated team of researchers. Your support on Patreon enables us to delve deeper and bring more insightful stories to light. You can find the link to our Patreon in the description below. Thank you for considering supporting our efforts and helping us continue our work.